Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? Gabriel Santos here. And today we're going to talk about 5 things I learned from my experience with weed addiction, going through it, and ultimately getting out of it. Okay. So these are just 5 that came up to me today. But obviously, there are many things I learned. But hopefully, with these 5, you'll get a lot of value and gain a lot of insight you can reflect on for your journey. All right. In no specific order. So here we go. And I have my laptop here to look through my notes. All right. Number one, um, much of my weed addiction was about being completely dependent on weed for happiness, certainty, and security. Okay, so just a little context. I dealt with some anxieties, especially in high school, and when I found weed, that really seemed to cure that feeling. And what ended up happening was I became so reliant on marijuana to deal with those feelings that I had neglected or didn't maintain developing proper coping skills, right? And so it got to the point that I didn't know how to deal with myself and certain emotions without using marijuana, to the point that I quite literally needed weed to get through my days. All right. So, again, number one was my weed addiction was about being completely dependent and reliant on weed for happiness, security, and certainty. Okay. Number two, um, sometimes progress looks like a ton of failure. Okay, and what I mean by that is, you know, obviously in the years that I was addicted and dependent to weed, I didn't want to be, right? And so I had made so many attempts to take a break or quit for good or make a change. And for 8 years, I was unable to really turn that corner, right? Be free from dependency, move on in my life. However, in those 8 years, in those failures, I was learning and developing the skills and the experience that eventually led to me turning the corner over time. And so, for example, when I wanted to go on a 2 month break, but I only went 1 week, yes, I failed to go 2 months, but I also successfully learned how to go 1 week. And so you just kind of expand that process of failing to go 3 months, but going 1 month, right? I learned to go 1 month, right? So in the process of failing to turn that corner, I was also learning and developing skills along the way. So, like I said, number two is sometimes progress looks like a ton of failure. Okay, number three, the breakthrough moments and insights that you're looking for in this journey are unpredictable, but they do happen. Okay. And what I mean by that is this: oftentimes, when we watch a video, read a book, or attend a seminar, we're hoping that the answers and solutions and breakthroughs we're looking for come from that resource directly. And although they do sometimes, they don't always. And what I learned in my journeys is that a lot of the most profound and impactful breakthrough insights that I got were just through the day to day trial and error of things, right? They weren't necessarily me reading in a book and going, oh my God, again, all of that happens. A lot of many of what helped me make permanent shifts were things that I learned on a random Tuesday reflecting, right? And so my point with this one, number three, is to let you know that the breakthrough feeling and insights do come, but oftentimes they come in ways that you're not anticipating, which kind of leads to the secondary point of, you kind of got to trust the process and let go of controlling and knowing exactly how it's gonna pan out. Just know that if you have the intention and the sense of determination to make this change, that the right people, places, things, they're all gonna kind of come together over time. And like I said, you can't necessarily predict it, but they do happen, right? So number four is that my journey through weed addiction slash dependency ended up being a blessing in disguise. And it became a vehicle for me to deeply understand myself and develop certain skills, right? What I mean by that is, you know, being in dependency or addiction to anything is really shitty, especially if you've been in it for a long time, right? There's a lot of shame, guilt, embarrassment, sadness, depression, um, and just the process of feeling stuck and enslaved to something really fucking sucks, to say the least. But like I said just now, it actually becomes this vehicle for you to transcend, right? And for me personally, I personally had to read tons of books, go through tons of seminars, watch tons of videos. I had to fall flat on my face. I had to go through many dark days, but weed addiction ended up being this adversity that allowed me to learn a lot about myself and overcome and ultimately develop skills among many other things to become someone better. So it turns out that although weed addiction sucked and it's not something I would have preferred to get into, it ended up being this blessing in disguise where it forced me to become something more in order to get out of it. So consider that where you're at right now, whatever you're going through, whether it's weed addiction or something like that, consider it's this platform for you to transcend and overcome. All right. So that's number 4. And last but not least, um, it's a number 5 is it's about doing what's best for you based on your truth, right? And what I mean by that is, some people can smoke weed every day and have zero negative impact. Some people can smoke weekly and it can be a true treat and reward. And then there's some of us that are truly better off not having it be a regular part of our routines. Why that is, I couldn't tell you. But what I do know is I tend to do way better when marijuana is just not a part of my lifestyle. I don't make time for it. It's not something that I include in my day to day, week to week, month to month living. That's not to say I'll never do it again or enjoy it sometime in my life, right? But I just know that identifying with it and it being something that I allow into my routines just doesn't work for me. Um, Based on who I am, my values, and what matters to me, and the things that I'm pursuing. For me, uh, letting marijuana be something I partake in on a regular basis tends to lead me in the wrong direction. Again, that's not to say that weed is wrong, but objectively speaking, if you want to go this way and hanging out with certain people makes you go this way, then you're better off not hanging out with those people objectively, right? And same thing goes for weed or whatever. And I've tried it all, man. I tried to smoke weed every day. I tried to do it week to week, and there's something about holding on to it and forcing a way for weed to be in my life that simply doesn't work. And so over time, I've just learned to kind of accept, just be honest, right? And again, this came over a lot of trial and error and failure, but it's like I had to kind of grow up for myself and ask myself what matters, and certain sacrifices that I would need to make in order to get where I want to go, and that's it. Again, I've kind of let go of needing to like justify and understand why the case is for me that having weed around just really doesn't lead me in the right direction. All I know is that that's just the case for me, and I stopped trying to resist that fact, and um, it seems to feel right. Seems to feel aligned. So that's just kind of what I used to guide that decision. But anyways, that's the 5. Um, to recap, number 1 is much of my weed addiction was about being dependent on it for happiness, security, and certainty. Number 2 is that sometimes progress looks like a ton of failure. Number 3 is that the breakthrough moments you're looking for are often unpredictable, but they do happen. Number 4 is that weed addiction or dependency is actually a blessing in disguise because it acts as the vehicle and platform for you to grow. And last but not least, it's about what's doing best. It's about doing what's best for you based on your truth, right? And that can look like keeping weed around. That can look like not keeping it around. But at the end of the day, whatever you decide to do, not just with weed, but with anything in your life, it's about doing what's best for you and what matters to you, right? And that's it. And you don't need to really justify that to anyone but yourself. So yeah, hopefully you guys found that valuable, something you can reflect on in your journey. But other than that, as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.